Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Namaskar. A warm welcome to each one of you from Kashmir Care Foundation. My name is Altaf Ahmed Lal. I work with all of you in planning and organizing these sessions. ये tobacco cessation पे session है. थोड़ी बात कश्मीरी में करेंगे, कुछ उर्दू में करेंगे, कुछ इंग्लिश में करेंगे, so that we can cater to the wider audience. पहले, let me first send a warm welcome to our three great panelists. Naveed Nazir Shah from Chest Disease Hospital, Shumail Bashir from GMC Baramulla, and Syed Nisar Ahmad from SKIMS. But I also wanted to extend a warm welcome to 5 more individuals who have joined Kashmir Care Foundation's advisory group. So if I could have Abrar Saab slide so that I can show who has joined us. These are remarkable people. Zarif Ahmed Zarif Saab, sab jante hain Kashmir se. Dr. Yaqub Qureshi, the former Chief Election Commissioner, has joined us. हमारे साथ जुड़ गए हैं बशीर अहमद बशीर साहब. He's an advocate, High Court from Kashmir. Mushtaq Margoob Saab, everyone knows him. And Dr. Khurshidul Islam from Kashmir. So this now makes us a group of 16 as far as advisory group is concerned. And Tanzila is both part of the advisory group and part of the core team. She's the bridge between the two components of Kashmir Care Foundation. Next slide is slightly modified working group. इसमें नाफी साहब हमारे साथ जुड़ गए हैं from IUSD as an core working group. Core working group is the group that brings these programs together, helps us organize these initiatives. And the last slide I'll have is the student leaders. These are the student leader chapters. Abrar Saab इसमें है जो हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए भी हैं. They create and recreate the student-centric activities, and one of them is KCF Mentor, Creating Leaders for Tomorrow. Please visit our website to find more about this mentorship program. Go to www.kashmircarefoundation.org. Kashmir Care Foundation is one word, and you'll get to see a lot of what is happening, what is planned. And while you're there, do join us on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on the Instagram. Today's program is a very important program for us. I think by far the most important today. जिसकी अब हमने शुरुआत की ये डॉक्टर अलागमन साहब की recommendation से. He is a remarkable person. All of you know him. He keeps on telling us from time to time, kya gets karun, kya gets na karun. And he was the one who suggested not only the tobacco cessation, substance abuse, and few more activities that are Kashmir-centric, such as the extensive expenditure we do on Wazwan. Both the economic aspects of it and the health aspects of it. तो जब ये हम प्लान कर रहे थे ये प्रोग्राम, I reached out to some of friends, colleagues in Kashmir and outside Kashmir. Hey, Ishi, Karan, Karwa, join us. And 19 organizations raised their hand. So this program is in partnership with IUSD, with SCOUST, SSM College, Aloha, TSPL, Haji Public School, Sabaji Marsa Jiri, Nature University, and Private Schools Association, जो जम्मू and Kashmir की है. We also have partners from BKMA, UK-based organization, Gauri Foundation, Upinder Saab ki, Sawab, Mushtaq Margoob Saab head करते हैं उसे, Arfa and Farooq Khan Foundation from US, Help Foundation, and Help for Voluntary Trust. From the commercial side, the business side, GR8, जो cricket bats बनाते हैं, Trumbu Cement Industries, Fortune Enterprises, Sweet Temptation, and Northern Gypsum. So 19 organizations volunteered to be part of this. I'm going to soon start this conversation with our 3 great panels. मगर उससे पहले मैं ये कहता हूँ कि काफ़ी feedback आया था हमारे पास. People wanted us to have extensive conversation on cardiovascular diseases, on reproductive health, on stroke and oral health. So we decided to do it in 2 parts. आज के part में हम pulmonary health, oncology space पे और थोड़ा सा touch हम diabetes पे करेंगे. And then we'll go, inshallah, soon to this part 2 of this conversation. So while I ask the questions which have come to us, please feel free to post your questions on the chat box. And Sabaji is so good in moderating those Q&As, and we'll get to almost all of them, hopefully. So Naveed साहब, पहले मैं आपके पास आना चाहता हूँ. WHO, World Health Organization, states that tobacco consumption is the leading cause of preventable diseases and deaths worldwide. Yimchwana Janab ki tobacco use contributes extensively to cancer, heart diseases, diabetes, lung disorders, dental health, etc., etc. Initially khali tamok, initially khali cigarette. ये गुटखा है, ये हुक्का है, ये नास है, ये e-cigarette है, ये vaping है. Can you get the conversation started? ये लिबु cigarette चावान छुस. जब मैं cigarette पीता हूँ, when I smoke, what happens to my body? What chemicals are released? Then we'll continue this conversation. Over to you, Naveed Saab.
Assalamu alaikum. Very good evening to everybody. So it's a great initiative taken by you along with your whole team to educate the masses about the day-to-day problems that we are having in our society. So I think smoking or tobacco use is one of the biggest challenges which we are facing right now. And I think talking about smoking, I would just want to start with that. Once we are talking about tobacco, tobacco taken in any form is harmful for our body. Whether we have various forms in which we take it, like cigarettes, BDs, hookahs, or we even have seen people chewing tobacco, the nas, the gutka, which is quite prevalent in Kashmir also right now, and some even sniff, that's a nasal usage of the tobacco. And whatever we say, every form of tobacco, in whatever form it is taken, is harmful for our body. So, what once we take or inhale this tobacco, there are about around 7,000 chemicals which are associated with tobacco smoke or any form of tobacco, and out of these, around 250 chemicals are harmful for our body, and out of them 70 are carcinogenic, that is cancer causing. And don't be mistaken that it only causes diseases of the lung. Every part of the body is involved. You take any disease of any system, as smoking has a direct or an indirect correlation in the etiology of the disease. Somebody has rightly said that smoking causes every disease except pregnancy, and pregnancy, is not a disease at all. So, if you see what actually happens once we smoke in, nicotine is the main substance of the tobacco smoke, which is actually addictive. So, depending upon the route by which we are taking, the nicotine is absorbed into our body most quickly by the inhalational or the absorption by the submucosa, and it reaches our brain in around 7 minutes. So once it reaches out into the brain, it causes a temporary buzz by by releasing some chemicals like dopamine, which is a sort of a pleasure chemical and which activates our body and gives us a sort of a pleasure feeling. It also increases the heart rate, the blood pressure, and the breathing rate. But it's a short-lived thing. Once the effect of the chemicals goes down, from a pleasure state, we go into a sort of a fatigue state, and thus the patient starts craving for the cigarette again to give him more pleasure, or rather activate him for his day-to-day activities. So that is the main thing, which is the addictive substance. But once we are inhaling the smoke or we are inhaling the other ingredients of the tobacco, every part of the body is involved. The most important we see about the lungs first. So we see, talk of any disease, smoking is the main etiological factor. Talk about a simple what damage it causes to the airway epithelium, you are predisposed to develop upper and lower respiratory tract infections. It causes damage to the inflammation of the airways, which leads to development of COPD. Both emphysema, both chronic bronchitis, which are caused by the inflammation of the airways. The main etiological factor, what we see in our day-to-day life, is smoking. And not to talk about lung cancer. Lung cancer is obviously the most common cancer, which is coming up in Kashmir, which is overtaking. I think Dr. Nisar will comment on that. I think it's almost getting equal to the GI cancers, which were the most common cancers in Kashmir right now. So not only the respiratory system, it also goes to the cardiovascular system. Nicotine causes constriction of the blood vessels, which raises blood pressure. It promotes atherosclerosis, which is the main, which leads to the development of plaques in our arteries and is responsible for the different heart attacks and main etiological factor again for myocardial infarction. And also, it also increases the risk of strokes. If you talk about the nervous system, the initial pleasure effect, what is given by the nicotine, it leads to a fatigue state, and ultimately it leads to into an anxiety or a depressive state also. And not talk about the withdrawal symptoms. Once the patient is not able to take the smoke, it causes irritability, anxiety, poor concentration, and strong craving. And going down to the digestive system, right, going from the mouth, we see that tooth decays, bad odor, tooth loss, receding gums. One of the most important factor is tobacco chewing, the NAS, what is very common in the rural areas, what we have been seeing over a long time. And it also depresses our immune system. Decrease in the immunity leads to you being prone to infections, any type of infections in the body. And I think already talked about the reproductive system. We see that in women, there's an increased risk of infertility, and the complications in pregnancy are also increased by a pregnant lady smoking during her pregnancy period. And in men also, it's one of the main factors which is related to reduced sperm quality and impotence in patients. So, I would like to reiterate again that every organ of the body is directly or indirectly involved by smoking. If you see about etiology of all cancers, your lungs, throat, pancreas, GI cancers, bladder, cervix, kidney, stomach, every type of cancer has a direct or indirect relationship with smoking. And the most important thing which people might not be knowing, that smokers die around 10 to 15 years earlier on an average than a non-smoker. We
Wow,
often
wow.
we often see patients coming us, डॉक्टर साहब आप तो बोल रहे हैं स्मोकिंग छोड़ दो, मेरा colleague है, he is smoking 60 cigarettes a day and he does not have COPD. I simply tell him it's not necessary you develop COPD. Only 10 to 15% of the patients develop COPD. But there are so many diseases in the body what you can get actually because of the effect of smoking. So it's I think I stop here and
I thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saab. You set the stage. You first mentioned ki all organs, all diseases except pregnancy. You said pregnancy is not a disease, but it does impact reproductive health. You relayed that very clear. Shumail, let me come to you now. From the world to Kashmir. Obviously, going back to WHO data, Timchawanan, 1.13 billion smokers exist today. 1.13 billion smokers. That's a good quarter of world population. And they also say half of them will die from tobacco-related illness. Naveed Saab mentioned that as well. Responsible mortality due to smoking, the pancho, up to 9 million people die, potentially 8.7 million people die globally from smoking-related illnesses. And it costs to healthcare $1.4 trillion. $1.4 trillion. West में smoking decline पे है, right? For a variety of reasons. But there's data suggesting Kashmir में उनसे ज़्यादा cigarette चल रहे हैं. Kashmir में ज़्यादा cigarette चल रहे हैं. Can you take this conversation more granularly to Kashmir, both the cigarette, Jajir, Nas, and Srinagar, the Gaman Mask? Differentiate for the audience what are the threats we face today.
Yes. Are you able to hear me?
Yes,
right.
we can.
So as you rightly pointed out, that in the West, the smoking is on the decline. Magar Kashmir means Chubuchmut Eski from the past year. There's a recent data that has come out last year only. So there was a survey that they conducted, the International Journal of Community Medicine, last year only. And they found out that Kashmir means smoking increased Gamutsvaria over the past decade. And what they found was that it used to be 33%, but now it has gone up to 37, even more than that. And Kashmir is currently ranking sixth in consumption of all tobacco products in our country. So this is really alarming. And what has happened, they also looked at like the proportion of urban versus rural. Ki Gaman mans kya hal chu, Besharan mans kya hal chu. And they looked at all the districts of Kashmir. And what they found out, and which is very alarming, that the top of the list was district Kupwara. And more than 50% of Kupwara's population is smoking, more than 50%. And majority of the times it's cigarette smoking. Next in line is Shupian and Anantnag, which an alarming 52 and 49%. So huge. So half of the population of these districts, which are border districts or rural districts, cigarette consumption is quite high. Even in our cities, we know it's nearly around 40 to 42% if we talk about Srinagar. And what is more alarming is that in this subset of population, 23% of our students are smoking. So 23%, that's a quarter of the population of students is smoking, which is a huge number, which should really alarm us, as a society कि अगर हमारे बच्चे सिगरेट पी रहे हैं, अगर हमारे गांव में, हमारे peripheral areas में 50% से ज़्यादा लोग सिगरेट चुन रहे हैं, so we should be doing something about it. Second thing is that, we talk about the jajir, or traditionally, jajir or the hookah was a part of Kashmiri culture. We would have it in our homes or in our shops, and people would sit in groups and they would smoke. The hookah smoking part has declined, as evidenced by the research that has gone up. But what has come up is the new hookah, that is the exotic hookah, especially the young generation. The shisha cafes and all those, which was earlier in the Middle Eastern culture, has trickled down to Indian society as well, and to Kashmir as well. And this sort of has, the attention has been from the younger age group, the students who are lured to this, ki maybe this is less harmful, which is not the case. Hookah smoke is as harmful as a cigarette smoke, if not more. In a single hookah session, if you have a 1 hour hookah session, that equates to almost smoking 2.5 or 2 packets of cigarettes. And the amount of toxins that we are inhaling in a hookah session, or when you're having that jajir, it's all those toxins, 4,000 plus toxins, as Dr. Naveed Shah pointed out. You are inhaling all those toxins. And so there is this myth that maybe the jajir is a safer version of tobacco consumption. That is just a myth. And also the fact that many people would say that, in a hookah, the toxins they pass to the water, and possibly that kind of reduces the toxic burden. Many studies have found that that is not the case, and it is as deleterious as a cigarette smoking is there. Also, I want to point out that this survey that I was talking about, that the Department of Community Medicine has taken, that there has also been an increase in women smokers in Kashmir, sadly. So what was there at zero point 0.8 to 1% couple of years back now has increased to 8 to 9 to almost 10%. So 10% of our women are also smoking cigarettes. And the most important district that they found was Bandipora, where you have more number of women smokers now. So this is, these are the facts that are there. So we're definitely seeing that in our Union Territory of JNK, smoking has increased, more so cigarette smoking has increased. And I might also point out, although this is anecdotal, but we do see a migration of laborers and all those things in our state lately. And gutka, yeah, chewing tobacco was not a real norm of Kashmir maybe few years ago or a decade ago. But now people are also, having keni, gutka, other forms of chewing tobacco, which obviously causes all these oral cancers and the, diseases of the mouth, so and so forth. So definitely this is a huge problem for us right now. And, this is despite there being, so to say, a blanket ban on, so more than 60% of our population is getting addicted to tobacco smoking, and more so the cigarette smoking. So I think this is something we really need to take, as a society, and think about, doing. And programs like this are, in the right direction, like a step to help us understand that what we can do about this problem, really.
Thank you so much, Shumail. I agree. Conversation amongst peers, conversation amongst community members is important. The hookah, jajir, जिसे कश्मीरी में जजीर कहते हैं, the smoke does go through water, but it will only filter the water soluble toxins. It won't filter
Right.
water insoluble toxins, which are actually more harmful. Syed Nisar Saab, I'm going to come to you now. Naveed Saab ने कहा कि 7,000 chemicals हैं tobacco में. Let's take cigarette as an example. And I was looking at CDC data. 70 of them are known to cause cancer. 70. So when we smoke hookah or cigarette, we're taking 70 carcinogens into our lung and into our bloodstream. Some of these carcinogens are scary. I'm going to give you some names to Naveed Saab knows this, Jumail knows this, Syed Nisar Saab knows this. Acetaldehyde, arsenic, benzene, cadmium, formaldehyde, hydrazine, lead, nickel, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, radioactive elements such as uranium 235, polonium 210, and tobacco-specific nitrosamine, vinyl chloride. So I gave you the list. You don't want to touch by a 10-foot pole these chemicals, yet we inhale them, deposit them in our lung and bloodstream. Syed Nisar Saab, two-part question to you. Can Kashmir ka scene leke chalte hain? Can you speak to the number of cancers that are caused by smoking, and compared to the rest of the country, how many cancers in Jammu and Kashmir, and what are the most common cancers that are linked to tobacco use? Over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Janab.
Walaikum
So,
assalam.
thank you for the involvement. So, there are around 20 cancers which are quoted by CDC, so which are caused by smoking. So, I guess on a Kashmir, so commonly we know about lung. So, people even they don't have idea कि क्या cancers हम can smoking. So, if you start with airway, suppose bronchus and lung, the commonest cancer, and this is proved beyond doubt. The etiology of lung cancer is smoking related. Oral cavity, larynx, pharynx, esophagus. So I show the idea that only food habits, and this is part of our geographical disease. But smoking shock cause of esophageal cancer, gastric cancer, colorectal cancers, even SCC. SCC, suppose I am working in oncology for around 15 years. Say 10 years back, we would see one case in a month. Also, daily OPDS SCC. So, in fact, fatty liver and others, but smoking has gone high. So, we see kidney cancers, urinary bladder cancers, urinary cancers. If we see today, so a lot of people are coming with new diseases. So, so then we have like cervix. It has started coming. It was not disease of our part. It says which Udi belt, and this was beyond the tunnel. So cervix was not. Now we see. So even leukemias like acute myeloid leukemia, this is basically smoking related. So there are around 20 cancers which are proved. So actually, it's not only lung cancer issue. Beyond this, cancers. So I say urogenital clinics, so uro-oncologists will see quite a few. Now it has grown to an extent we have a separate dedicated urogenital tumor board for bladder cancers. So is the volume, and kidney cancers. And the main etiological agent is smoking. Which is a decade back would see that our disease, in fact, still it is true as of now, but esophagus was the number one cause. Then lower GI. So, but if we see the data, it is now published. So, institutional data from Kashmir, as well as now lately a population-based cancer registry. There's a JAMA paper in 2025 recently published. which has almost 43 cancer ratio all over India. They have collaborated this. And now if you see, you will be surprised. So this would be a news to most of us. Srinagar district is number 1 in age-adjusted incidence of lung cancer in India. So you can imagine, so a decade back, lung cancer was much lower, and especially Naveed Saab discussed it, and Dr. Shumail also discussed, would see in men only. Now females become aggressive cancers like a small cell. I asked them then in depth, in privately, to a female, have you smoked? Then she gives a smile and yes, that is so, because the teaching was small cell lung cancer does not happen in non-smokers. So they actually smoke and they may not reveal actually. So as of now, lung cancer is number 1 incident cancer in Kashmir, as per institutional data and as per population. This is not only in the institutional that this is the population, and it is now published in all India level. And so it is a JAMA paper in 2025. But otherwise, in common cancers, so stomach, GI, it is almost double the rest of the country. But we have some, and in females, breast cancer is now coming up. So again, due to Western diet and all those habits, lifestyle. But otherwise, cancers like cervix and oral cavity, they are less seen in our part of this. So, Garashi Wanuki, smoking related cancers, they are upcoming. And this will be an issue. So we have seen, actually, they are seeing this burning issue, but we cannot imagine what will happen after a decade or more.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I just wanted to introduce our brand ambassador for Tobacco Cessation, our dear Mehmeed Sayed. Mehmeed, thank you so much. I know you were busy. You dialed in today. Please, 30-second, a minute comment from you. That'll mean a lot to the group.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm sorry I was in Gulmarg for my performance today, so I got back home late because of traffic and all. So I apologize for that. But yes, I was actually very much looking forward to this session because smoking is an issue that is like a household in Kashmir, and everybody is smoking. अब तो लड़कियां भी पहले एक taboo हुआ करता था that girls mustn't smoke, but as of now I've seen, and I go to cafes, I see women smoking very proudly and actually flexing it. I wish I could make them understand, they are actually being stupid. People who actually are playing with their lives by smoking and doing all these things, that is actually having a very harmful effect on their lives. So I was actually looking forward to this session and listen from all the experts and everyone else. So here I am. Thank you for very much for having me with you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Mehmeed.
you so much.
Now, I'm going to pause here. And I'm going to talk to both the panelists and those who have joined us today, the audience. Every person who decides to quit tobacco use takes a step towards improved health and longer life. And not only for themselves, but also for their family. And I'll come to the family aspect. It's also a step that benefits the entire community by reducing exposure to secondhand smoke. And I'll come to the passive smoking. And I call this segment My Family, My Health, My Neighborhood, My City, My Country, and My World. Ending tobacco use begins with individual action. Together we can build a healthier smoke-free future. So जो हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं, I see 48 numbers. Could you raise your hand if you believe that ending tobacco is your passion too, ending smoking is your passion too? Either you smoke or don't smoke. Just raise your hand. We'll do a statistical analysis at the end and show you how committed we are to ending tobacco use. And we heard Shumail and Naveed Saab and Nisar Saab. Great. Keep these hands come up. Talk about Kashmir mein kitna ho raha hai. There are individuals in 8th to 10th grade in schooling who are smokers. National Family Health Survey कह रहे हैं upper of 30% men smoke, up to 8% women smoke. These are huge numbers. If you had to do forecasting 20 years from now, what would Kashmir look like? It would be a disastrous and a very difficult and different Kashmir. If you do a 20-year mapping or a 30-year mapping and forecasting with the base of 30% smokers in men and 8% up to 8% in women, Kupwara ke data leke ya Bandipora ka data leke. I wanted all three of you to talk to us, if you were Naveed Saab, our elder, we're your family. Cigarette se chawan, tsuri se chawan ya hawan se chawan. Talk to us 1 minute each to all three of you. Become our parents now. Naveed Saab, over to you.
Smoking is sure when I see my patients, because most of the patients who present to me are involved in respiratory disease, and most of them are smokers. I would say more than 90% of them are smokers. When I tell them, do you smoke? They say no. The first instance is no. Mes through Kutsas do get rentis, mes get sore the rentis. Thomas Edward Bemar Gok. Duman Hanas, Thomas Makar Karakwa Shuru. Chustravan Asnana. Pachuana Bia, you brush with the cigarette chavan. And his attendant keeps on saying, Nurse Yoshi Chavan, Yoshi bathroom must not swear to it. No much Chuan Shishneri Chan Pai, Kitushku Chavan cigarette and Sani Chavan cigarette. So, smoking in any form has to be quitted, and we have to make them understand what we are, what the aim of the program is today. And I think that should be the duty of every doctor, every physician. And I think this message should go down into the masses through the influencers, through our religious leaders, so as because doctors may be able to convince to some extent, but ultimately it has to go to the masses who are not actually suffering from any diseases. Because this smoking, I would say, it starts like as a shok, pachu kasani change into adat, pachu bana biddat. And once a patient comes to such a level that he wants to quit, quit or it's rather it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to say for a chronic smoker to quit his habit. So I think you see, it has to start from our families. We have to start educating within our family, every family, and then we have to act at the very adolescent levels, because it starts in the adolescence only, by peer pressure, by just like a shock. And I think it's duty of every parent and duty of every society member that he should be proactive, and he should conduct regular sessions, or rather the message to the whole of the society that about the ill effects of smoking, and that's how we can help and lead to a sort of a society which is free of smoke.
Thank you so much, Naveed Saab. Shumail, over to you. You have eyes on different demographics in Kashmir.
Yeah.
If you had to be the big sister, big mother, and talk to your children, your brothers, what advice would you give to them?
I think Naveed has really, put it in the right this. It definitely starts with me as a smoker. When you want to quit, it starts with you, but it's a collective effort. And as he rightly said, कि अगर जैसे especially हमारे बच्चे हैं जो young age group है, they under peer pressure, yeah, just to look cool or just to show off, as Mehmeet was saying, they take up this and it becomes a habit and addiction. And when it reaches that level, quitting, you can quit, but it becomes difficult. So what our approach as a society should be to nip the evil in the bud, to be more aware of our children, to be more aware of कि वो school के बाहर cigarette अगर मतलब as an onlooker, if you see bunch of kids hanging outside back alleys of school and smoking, what do? You don't turn your head away. You inquire, you go, you put a report at the school that this is happening. Because there's a law in place, there's a COPTA law in place that within 100 meters of any educational institution, institute or a school or a hospital, there should be no tobacco product or cigarette product available to these kids. So we as society need to really see whether these laws are being, implemented or not. And we need to keep our eyes open because it's the youth which gets really affected in a very bad way. And then when they reach that stage, if I come, when majority of our patients come to our OPDs, they are in end stage COPD or pretty bad asthma. And you can convince them, ki, okay, you quit. Your lungs are gone now. Yeah, kai baar I'm very harsh. I tell them to come to my ward and look at the patients कि देखो वो lifelong oxygen support पे हैं, उनकी medical bills monthly कितनी आ रही हैं या वो cancer के मरीज हैं. So to give them an idea that how bad it is. But my thing is that prevention is better than cure. So if we can approach the younger generation who fall to this, who think it's cool to, light up a cigarette or vape or go to a shisha joint and smoke that hookah, I think that responsibility as parents, as teachers, as doctors is more on us, and we should really go forward with it and with all guns blazing, in my opinion. I suppose varia, vigilant rosen अपने बच्चों को लेके, and we should try to sort of take it head on, because it is alarming, as you rightly said. Our kids, the figures say it all. The women are smoking now, kids are smoking, and one addiction leads to another. Today they can light up a cigarette, and tomorrow, God forbid, there are other substance abuses, because that's how it is. So I think it's very essential that we take a collective responsibility as a society, and it's not just on a single individual who has to quit, but it's a collective responsibility.
Thank you so much. And I hope people have voted. If they speak on behalf of themselves to end tobacco use, ending tobacco use, start with me. I know I see many hands. I don't see my hand. So let me put my hand also. No, I can't as a host. Yes, thank you so much. Syed Nisar Sahab, I was with the former Union Health Minister in a major democracy in South Asia. सुच में मना वो मुझे कह रहे हैं कि पहले तो लोग तंबाकू पे खुद अपना पैसा खर्च करते हैं, फिर जब बीमारियां होती हैं फिर सरकार को खर्च करना पड़ता है या उनको खुद खर्च करना पड़ता है. दे हैड टू सेल देयर हाउसेस, देयर लैंड, देयर ज्वेलरी, व्हाटएवर, because those treatments are then expensive. Those surgeries are very expensive. Talk to your patients, your friends in Kashmir and outside Kashmir. There's an economic issue here too.
Exactly. So, especially if smoking related cancer, say lung cancer. So it is a major chunk. 2/3 come in advanced stage 4. So they have palliative systemic treatment, and now we have advanced like immuno and targeted. They have affordability issue. Pachin ponse asan. And there are some cancers wherein there's a treatment, but they have to sell out their property. Timanchi family even white pet. So that's not worth it. So they should so then they not insurance, government reimbursement, then there's a mess. So advanced stage. There is an option, but he cannot afford. Sometimes say we even are not able to tell the level of evidence. Patient is say 10 lakhs ya 15 lakhs dava. Ye kya majboor panyan garken zoo to but he has small kids to raise, he has to dun can pan family, ye kya kar. Actually, which means where a patient timchu got attendant karan muzu cancer don. Then they hire a vehicle hospital, on different schemes timan treatment. How can he afford that? So you should got a ponsi log and you ponsi pet kharj, then I may switch up the family to suffer. So the basic issue is Naveed Sono, Dr. Shumail, we have to hit at the right age, school age, college age. That is one. Second, we have to counsel family. We have to start. We start with me. Yeah, he has to quit. Yeah, he has to. Especially in terms of Indian attachment. Vishan got mercy, Petras, mamas, Vishan, Chaman, ya dostas, Vishan. They see in society only, not kitken hitch badge. then we had to counsel. Agar is boss ki yasa go bad habits, actually harsh ki we had to befriend them. Those bana we have to have counselors. Actually, which in yim kitken kado. Yima karo dija yima issue bicha yima sunon alhaid ke. I'm said guys is zad dur amnish. So we had to that part. And oncological point of view was manshu ishu manan panyan patient and bushus manan yethas tuhindi wasadat yethas. This information has to go to masses. Ki akkoyam lung cancer. But issue my manan has make a manticoring. But there is a data proved beyond doubt कि अगर ये cancer गसित even advanced stage इस्तन या early stage इस्तन अगर ये try cigarette ये try tamuk outcomes survival improves by 30%. So use highest also given as treatment which we add to the chemo, it gives same benefit 20 to 30%, not beyond that. Go 30% improvement. One. Second, we are seeing multiple cancers. Patient should lung cancer gumut, suchu gumut thik, kidney cancer, ya bladder cancer. Esophageal. We have patients with 3 cancers. They are living because the source is same. I should no cancer. Bisha samjaun yaman ki outcome even with say this overall with treatment without treatment if they quit smoking I make outcome is better than if he continued smoking. Dayim cheez byak aham cheez shi as samjaun yaman ki suppose somebody has taken cigarettes for 20 years agar ye band kare after 10 years his risk of getting lung cancer is much lower than what even agar
I will
ye aasi yeah.
Nisar, I'll come to that. That's a question I have for you. That lung is to some extent forgiving. So I'll come to that very special question. Naveed Saab, was other paran Series C fact sheet that I saw the link between tobacco use and diabetes also. Then I read a paper from UGA, vaping and e-cigarette, they linked significant to tobacco use and diabetes. So can you, and we'll come to this point much later in the next session, inshallah. But tell now audience, human sugar disease, human diabetes, tobacco is a risk factor here.
Absolutely. CDC and various research papers have showed that smoking increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by more than 30 to 40%. So there are various mechanisms which are involved in development or of diabetes because nicotine and other chemicals which are present in the smoke, they impair insulin sensitivity, promote inflammation, and damage the blood vessels. All the 3 factors are responsible for worsening of the glucose regulation. And it has been seen that it's not only the cigarettes or the hookah which is responsible for that. Studies have shown that even e-cigarettes are also responsible for a higher risk of developing diabetes, especially in those patients who co-administer cigarettes as well as e-cigarettes or vaping. So they have been shown to be an independent risk factor for development of diabetes because nicotine, even without smoke, can also trigger insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction in the people. Even the smokeless tobacco, which is chewed, sniffed, or hookah use, all are also responsible, have been shown to be responsible for being in one risk factor for development of diabetes. And these smokeless tobaccos are also linked with higher risk of insulin resistance, central obesity, and metabolic syndrome, which sets the stage for development of diabetes. And if you see the latest data, Kashmir Mastisha diabetes is on a rise. And data has shown that around 8 to 12% of the adults might be suffering from type 2 diabetes, or maybe most of them might be in the pre-diabetic stage. And once a high use of tobacco in these persons and it leads to a higher percentage of people progressing to the diabetic stage, and also it combines with the burden on the cardiovascular, respiratory, and metabolic health of the patients also. So it's actually a triple hit: tobacco plus diabetes, plus cardiovascular disease, which is responsible for a sort of a premature disability and mortality in such patients.
Thank you so much. Shumail, I'm going to come to you next and then I'll do another poll. These polls were not part of our plan, but we just are doing it now. Shumail,
Ji.
meh chu father chavan cigarette, bh chus khwaj bazru rozan. Tem sun chu ijazat yoda ishin ki hawanani su chu chavan tamok alagban sahab me numa khwaj bazru wain. Oil kadal te hakaniyat, bur kadal te hakaniyat. हमारे एल्डर्स पीते हैं, बच्चे भी उससे इनहेल करते हैं, पैसिव स्मोकिंग जना इंत कराएं इफेक्ट बिन एंड बाय इंसानी एज ए रिजल्ट जो आप ये कह रहे हैं ना 30 to 34% adult usage of smoking. If you budget the passive smoking in this, we're close to 60%.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Talk to me as an older man who smokes at home. I'm exposing my family of
Well,
no.
I hope you don't smoke.
I don't. I'm portraying as a person who is doing this. I don't. Atlanta ki.
Right. तो actually misconception कि अगर बुछु सिगरेट चवा है मतलब मैं क्या गैसे अगर बगार चम कुछ इसमंस तते शुर्च या मेरे बच्चे हैं, my wife is there or other family members is there, it hardly matters. But second-hand smoke is as harmful as smoking a cigarette. You know, you're exposing your children, your elders, or whosoever you're sitting with to all those noxious chemicals and toxins and carcinogens that we've been talking about here tonight. And what I want to say that the most affected are children. छोटे बच्चे जिनके लंग्स अभी डेवलप हो रहे होते हैं, जिनकी इम्यूनिटी उतनी अच्छी नहीं है, that their body is not able to eradicate these toxins from their body, and this can have both short-term and long-term effects on their health. बहुत सारी studies हैं, there's tons and tons of medical literature on this, that how secondhand smoke affects both children and adults. If I talk about children first, because I'm a mother myself, so बच्चों में ranging from infections to serious chronic diseases, anything and everything can happen because of second-hand smoking. Middle ear infections जिसको हम otitis media बोलते हैं या meningitis which is कशिर पट्टी कल सरसांच बना which is a fatal disease, these have been linked to second-hand smoking. Then if you talk about their cardiovascular effects on kids, there is a recent paper, there was a study was done in Japan, or what they did was that they followed these children who were exposed to parenteral smoking for 18 to 19 years of their life. And they found that the risk of myocardial infarction, that is, these kids having a heart attack when they grow up, was 30 times higher. These kids, when they grow up, their chances of getting an atherosclerosis, which is thickening of their arteries, their high blood pressure, their cardiac rhythm disorders, was 20 to 28% higher as opposed to those जिनके सामने उनके पेरेंट्स ने कभी सिगरेट या स्मोक नहीं पिया था. So कहने की बात है, so cardiovascular implications हैं, especially बच्चों में, especially अगर 2 साल से छोटे वो बच्चे हैं. फिर अगर हम रेस्पिरेटरी डिजीजेस की बातें करें, asthma which is so important, kids who are already asthmatics or who later in their life develop adult onset asthma, there is a strong link between these kids having been exposed to secondhand smoke in their house. Even allergic conditions, other allergies like nasal allergies, which can later on translate into allergic asthma in these kids. Also, there have been instances where sudden infant deaths have occurred. अगर 1 साल से छोटा बच्चा है and he passes away suddenly, usually in his sleep, and there is no discernible cause, that has also been related to passive smoking and secondhand smoke. So it's a big problem. Just thinking कि अगर मैं सिगरेट पीता हूँ और इसका असर मेरे छोटे बच्चे पे नहीं होगा, या अगर बड़े बुजुर्ग वहां बैठे हैं जिनको ऑलरेडी लंग्स कमजोर हैं या जो सीओपीडी के मरीज हो सकते हैं या एस्मा के मरीज हो सकते हैं, their disease will get exacerbated. They will have more symptoms, worse wheezing at night, more cough, increase in their medication. So you're harming yourself plus you're harming your family. And also for all those who are listening and are unfortunately they have the habit of smoking, I also want to tell you that imagine what influence this has on the psyche of that child who is seeing you lighting that cigarette up and smoking. उस बच्चे को तो यही लगेगा कि अगर मेरे father या मेरा दादा पी रहा है या मेरे बड़े भाई पी रहे हैं, so it's okay, I can also smoke. Because kids, you know, they do what they see. They may not take your advice, but they look at you, they look up to you, and they think that if they are modeling this, this is the right behavior. So the physical and the health effects are also there, but also, you know, the psychological effect on children, especially when you smoke in a family, especially in a closed space. And also the smoke lingers. अगर आप किसी कमरे में बैठे हो और वहां सब लोग बैठे हैं और आप बाहर जाके निकल गए और आपने सोचा हो गया, but that smoke, those toxins, they are lingering there for at least 2 to 3 hours. So my advice to all those who are listening is कि आप अपनी जिंदगी और अपनी सेहत के साथ तो खेल ही रहे हैं, लेकिन आप अपने जो आपकी फैमिली है, बच्चे हैं, आपकी बीवी है, उनकी सेहत के साथ भी खेल रहे हैं, क्योंकि आप उनको भी उतने ही रिस्क में डाल रहे हैं, चाहे वो नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीजेस हैं, एस्थमा है, सीओपीडी है या कैंसर है। आप उतना ही रिस्क अपने नियर एंड डियर वंस को भी देख रहे हैं, विच इज वेरी अनफेयर. And if this doesn't change your mindset, and this doesn't, you know, shaken you up so that you decide that no, today I'm going to quit this smoking for the sake of my little child who is sitting next to me, then I don't know what will. So, you know, that's my
Thank
take
you.
on it. And I strongly feel this as a parent.
Thank you. You did speak to me sitting in Khwaja Basra. So for those of you who are in your comfort in your home, when you smoke, it's not only you mess up your health, you're messing up everyone around you. Syed Nisar Sahab, when I asked you to hold that thought, I wanted to come back to those chemicals that I mentioned: acetaldehyde, arsenic, benzene, cadmium, formaldehyde, hydrazine, lead, nickel, radioactive compounds, vinyl chloride. हम जब हाथ धोते हैं, कुछ काम करते हैं, उसके बाद इशात छला साहब ने सही थे ना उसने लाहरुम. That is one part of our public health practice, निसार साहब. दूसरी प्रैक्टिस में हम 20-25 केमिकल अंदर डाल रहे हैं. But you also said, and I think talk to it a little bit, I wanted you to spend some time, अगर सिगरेट त्राओ 5 साल का पी के या हुक्का पी के 5 साल, मगर वह त्राओ and we stay away, we revive many of the body functions to normal level, right? It's much better than any medicine.
Yeah. So we have to understand it is never late. So it is never late. So even though somebody gets, unfortunately, a lung cancer, but if he quits, his outcome is better than who actually continues to smoke. Second is, suppose somebody is smoking, he's a heavy smoker, he comes down, he becomes moderate or low, his risk of getting a lung cancer also comes down.
Syed Nisar Sahab, I'm seeing some very polite comments कि इस करहा उर्दू पढ़ कात या Kashmir पढ़ते कात. I know there are non-Kashmiri speaking audience, so if we can go, अगर हम उर्दू में बात कर लें, हम लोगों की रीच अच्छी होगी.
So if somebody, अगर कोई स्मोकर है वो छोड़ता है, उसकी रिस्क 10 साल के बाद इज ऑलमोस्ट हाफ, आधी हो जाती है अब गेटिंग लंग कैंसर. सो उसकी चांसेस लंग कैंसर होने के ऑलमोस्ट हाफ हो जाते हैं. वो धीरे धीरे जितना टाइम गुजरता है चांसेस और कम होते हैं. लेकिन कुछ कैंसर जैसे हमने किडनी या ब्लेडर का कहा है, उसमें 5 साल के बाद ही उसके चांस हाफ हो जाते हैं छूटने के बाद. सो इतना है इसमें कि अगर हम ये छोड़े इसके फायदे हैं. और जो हमने पहले भी डिस्कस किया है कि ऑलमोस्ट 20 कैंसर जो है ना वो प्रूव्ड है कि जो स्मोकिंग से होते हैं. हम देखते हैं कि किसी को एक कैंसर ने छोड़ा है, दूसरी कैंसर होती है उसी पेशेंट में, बिकॉज जो काज है वो तो वही है ना, अगर वो छोड़ता नहीं है. तो हम यही पेशेंट से डिस्कस करते हैं कि वरना आम सेइंग है कि ना वन क्या गैसे अम खोद ये गस मंगो चोट, मगर अमिस समझाउन कि इट इज नेवर लेट, इट इज नेवर लेट. च हेक वन त्रित चे वन फायदे. अमे अलाव कि बाकी नवीद सोबन रेस्पिरेटरी कार्डियोवास्कुलर वन कैंसरस मज गो अमिस त्रावन सहुंद आउटकम इम्प्रूव गसन 30%. अगर ये चवन cancer, kidney cancer, so esophageal cancer, colorectal cancer, liver cancer, yim chh gasan almost come yuta waqt guzre.
Thank
So
you. Thank you so much.
جی جی اخ یہ چھُ اَسہِ سٲنۍ اہم ذمہٕ وٲری کہ ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ کانٛہہ تہِ پیشنٹ ٹریٖٹ کینٛہہ ڈِزیٖز کرِ اَسہِ چھُ ٹایم گُزارُن أمِس کاونسلِنٛگ منٛز تہِ اَمہِ علاوٕ یُس أمِس بیسِک ٹرٛیٖٹمٮ۪نٛٹ دیُن سُہ چھُ اَسہِ سٲنۍ اکھ ذمہٕ وٲری ایز اے سوسائٹی.
تھینک یو سو مچ. جو اسٹوڈنٹ ہمارے ساتھ جڑے ہوئے ہیں یا پیرنٹس ہمارے ساتھ جڑے ہوئے ہیں, چھوٹی سی بات ہے, جب آپ گاڑی میں بیٹھتے ہو آج کل آپ سیٹ بیلٹ لگاتے ہو, یہ آٹومیٹک ہو جاتا ہے, سیٹ بیلٹ لگاتے ہیں. سیٹ بیلٹ لگانے سے بھی امپورٹنٹ, وہ تو لگائیں آپ, مگر آپ اپنے آپ کو کنونس کریں کہ سگریٹ سب سے خراب چیز ہے ہمارے پاس آج کل. یہ ہم پیسہ دے کے مشکلیں اپنے لیے کھڑی کرتے ہیں. تو اگر آپ پیتے ہو آج سے اسے چھوڑ دیں. سیکریفائسز کرنی ہوتی ہیں بچوں کے لیے, اور جو بچے جڑے ہوئے ہیں وہ تو کہتے ہیں نا انگریزی میں اسٹے 10 feet away, 10 فٹ دور رہے. میں کہتا ہوں جی 10 میل دور رہو سگریٹ سے. اب میں ایک اور پول لینا چاہتا ہوں یہاں پہ, جو بھی ہمارے ساتھ جڑے ہیں, آپ اپنے گھر کو اسموک فری آج سے ڈکلیئر کر دو گے. گھر کے اندر, گھر کے باہر, آپ کا گھر وہ نوٹا میں ہو, وہ شالیمار میں ہو, وہ پلوامہ میں ہو, گھر کے اندر اور باہر بھی اسے اسموک فری. اگر کوئی پی رہا ہے اسے کہیں نہیں باہر چلے جاؤ, سویستن دھرویتے سویستن سم دیتے, نہیں آپ باہر جاؤ, تھوڑی بے عزتی بھی کریں. تھینک یو سو مچ, کیپ ووٹنگ. اب میں لانا چاہتا ہوں ہمارے ساتھ جو کوئٹنگ پریونشن ایسپیکٹ کے ہیں. ایک تو فارمر نوڈل آفیسر جو کشمیر کے تھے, میر مشتاق صاحب ہیں, اور سلیم صاحب ہمارے پاس جڑے ہیں, جی ایم سی پریونٹیو میڈیسن کے ہیڈ. کین آئی ہیو بوتھ آف, آپ بتائیں اپنی ایکسپیرئنس. اگر میں تمباکو پیتا ہوں, مجھے مدد چاہیے کہ کیسے چھوڑوں, کچھ پروگرامز ہیں اویلیبل. پہلی چیز تو ہے اپنا جذبہ ہونا چاہیے, میں نے چھوڑنا ہے تو میں نے چھوڑنا ہے. مگر اگر نہیں چھوڑ پا رہی امیر مشتاق صاحب, ہمارے ہیں جہاں جا کے, میر مشتاق صاحب پہلے آپ, پھر سلیم صاحب, پھر آپ.
السلام علیکم.
وعلیکم السلام.
تھینک یو ویری مچ. پہلے آپ کا بہت بہت شکریہ کہ آپ نے اس پروگرام میں دعوت دی. تو وی ہیڈ اے گلومی پکچر کی بات ہم نے کی, تو میں تھوڑا سا کنٹرری ویو لے لوں گا. آئی گو ٹورڈز اے بٹ پازیٹیوز جو میرے بچپن سے آج تک. تھوڑا سا میں جسٹ سے کہ بریفلی جب ہمارے گھروں میں مہمان آتا تھا تو اس کا خاطر تواضع جو حکے سے کیا جاتا تھا. تو حکا پہلے آتا تھا, مہمان اس کے بعد آتا تھا. لیکن وہ پکچر اب آلموسٹ ہمارے گھروں سے غائب ہو چکی ہے. اب حکا نہیں آتا ہے موسٹ آف دا ہومس. سو دیٹس ون پازیٹیو. سیکنڈ پازیٹیو یہ ہے کہ پبلک ٹرانسپورٹ میں وی سی وزبل چینج ان کشمیر. لوگ اب پبلک ٹرانسپورٹ میں سگریٹ زیادہ نہیں پیتے ہیں. ہارڈلی سی اینی بڑی اسموکنگ ان پبلک ٹرانسپورٹ, and for that matter even in public places. So that is something, the positive we need to take from, with the result that there is a chance of intervention. As Iqbal says, zara nam hote matti badi zarkhaiz hai saki. So we need to intervene, and if we truly intervene we will succeed definitely. So as you said ki what are the ways and means available, جیسے میں آپ کو یہ بتاؤں کہ 2016 میں یہاں ڈائریکٹریٹ آف ہیلتھ سروس کشمیر میں ٹوبیکو کنٹرول کا پروگرام شروع ہوا باضابطہ. آئی واز فارچونیٹ کہ میں بھی 22 سے 24 تک اس کا نوڈل آفیسر رہا. اینڈ آئی ول بی پلیز ٹو نو دیٹ اس دوران ہمیں WHO کا ایوارڈ بھی اس میں ملا. تو ورک آن ٹوبیکو کنٹرول. سو ایک اور پازیٹیو یہ ہے کہ دیر از اے نوائز شروع ہو گیا ہے. اینٹی ٹوبیکو کیمپین کا ایک نوائز شروع ہو چکا ہے ان ایوری ڈسٹرکٹ, in every tehsil, in every place. I'll tell you, we'll be happy to know that almost under the Directorate of Health Services Kashmir, we conduct meetings in every district, which are being headed by the deputy commissioners of the respective districts, jisme har ek department ke log aate hain, and it happens quarterly, and there are activities which are happening, and we are finding also people جو غلط جگہوں پہ سگریٹ پیتے ہیں. تو وہ ایک کیمپین ابھی چل رہا ہے And though it is an infancy stage, I will not say that we have succeeded in eradicating tobacco from the society, which is very, very difficult. But there is a start. There is a starting point. And the positive is that there is a change in the perception of the public. Now, लोग ये समझते हैं कि हम गलत कर रहे हैं. घरों में सिगरेट नहीं पीते हैं, बसों में सिगरेट नहीं पीते हैं, विद द सेंस कि गलत हो रहा है. तो वो चीज अगर हम सोसाइटी को एक्सेप्ट कराने में कामयाब हो रहे हैं, तो वो एक बहुत बड़ी पॉजिटिव चीज है, जिससे हम आगे चल के लोगों में सिगरेट नोशी के जो वो दूर रख सकते हैं. जो नेगेटिव एस्पेक्ट है वो ये है कि यंग पीपल आर गेटिंग ड्रिवन टुवर्ड्स स्मोकिंग. उसमें जो रेस्टोरेंट कल्चर है, जैसे शीशा कल्चर है, वो डेवलप होते जा रहा है. तो उसमें हमें काम करने की जरूरत है. वी नीड टू मेक देम लाइसेंसिंग. हमें जरूरत है कि यहाँ टोबैको वेंडर लाइसेंसिंग की बहुत जरूरत है. पूरे इंडिया में बहुत सारे ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं जहाँ टोबैको वेंडर लाइसेंसिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट आ चुका है. टोबैको वेंडर लाइसेंस से ये होगा कि वही बंदा सिगरेट बेच सकता है जिसको लाइसेंस होगी, प्रॉपर लाइसेंसिंग होगी. एवरी शॉपकीपर कैन नॉट सेल सिगरेट्स. लाइक यहाँ हम क्या देखते हैं, जो दूध बेचता है वो भी सिगरेट रखता है, जो किराना बेचता है वो भी सिगरेट रखता है. सो टोबैको वेंडर लाइसेंस से ये होगा कि एक्सक्लूसिव आपको खाली सिगरेट बेचने की इजाजत होगी. एंड इफ इन अ गिवन एरिया देयर आर 2 shops or 3 shops, third, fourth person will not get a license to sell smokers. उसमें availability of the cigarettes will definitely be reduced, so that जो easily availability आपकी है वो खत्म हो जाएगी. सेकेंड इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट क्विटिंग के हवाले से है कि वी हैव टू स्ट्रेंथन द टॉफी. टॉफी इज अ पार्ट ऑफ अ कोटपा एक्ट, जो नेशनल टोबैको कंट्रोल प्रोग्राम है. टोबैको फ्री एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस, एज राइटली डॉक्टर शुमैल सेड कि there is a provision that within the 100 yards of the education institutions, nobody should be able to sell cigarettes. This is illegal. So we need to work on that. There are I could see the prominent figures of education department and those who are associated with the academics. They can raise complaints about the shopkeepers selling cigarettes within the premises of the hospitals or education institutions within the 100 yards. If you see, if this law is in letter and spirit implemented, we will have, because the density of our school is so high, there is so dense schools. If you have one school, like if we take Lalcho for say, there's a Bisco, there is Melanson, there is SP school, they're all adjacent to each other. So if we apply the 100 yards law in letter and spirit, you will have very few shopkeepers will be allowed to sell cigarettes. But for that, we need to awaken our conscience. We need to show our social responsibility and report. Actually, we don't report these things. You'll be happy to know that we actually introduced it in our time when I was the nodal officer, and still department is working on a tobacco monitor app also. And through this app, you can actually register a complaint, and that will go to the concerned police station or the area, and the action can be taken. Second important, I'll go briefly, is that we need to segregate, and we need not to give importance to the smokers. What we are seeing, we see separate smoking lounges in the restaurants, we see in the airports, and we need to go to the government that these things should not be provided. Because once you give a privilege to someone, people think, okay, they are privileged lot, they have been given a straight space to smoke, and they have been given good spaces to smoke. So we need to discourage those things. And there needs to be a last but not least, I will say one point here, that we have a project directorate of AIDS control here in Jammu and Kashmir. All of you are great doctors, academicians, skilled professionals. How many deaths AIDS does in our part of the world, but how many deaths smoking takes place? So we need to have, on the same pattern, we need to have a directorate of tobacco control in Kashmir, in whole of UT of Jammu and Kashmir, so which can actually control all these activities under one roof, and that will be a game changer.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sab. The theme of the session was appropriately labeled, Ending Tobacco Use Starts With Me. If it starts with me, it starts with you, it starts with us. We don't need anyone telling us it's bad. We know it's bad. We can't depend on others creating systems that are systems we need. We need to create that system. Syed Nisar साहब, एक सवाल आया है सादिया अबरार से. वो पूछ रही हैं कि टोबैको औरतों और मर्दों में डिफरेंट टाइप के कैंसर्स करते हैं. वेरी ब्रीफ रिस्पांस टू हर, देन आई विल गो टू सलीम साहब.
जी, so because small cell lung cancer and squamous cell mostly they are caused by smoking. Adeno जो females में देखा जाता है non-smokers, but otherwise जो smoker female है they can have same types of cancers. In addition, like you have esophageal, you have gastric, you have colorectal, you have urinary bladder, you have kidney, you have liver, they cancer, even acute myeloid leukemias, they are same in both. So like ये कॉमन है क्योंकि as of now still, so previously most of smokers would be men only, so lung cancer was more seen in smoker men here. That was the reason, but otherwise they can cause in either sex.
So the bottom line is body is the same. Smoking and the effects of smoking would not differentiate. You smoke, you get it. The key is not to smoke. Salim Saab, I want to come to you. Tell us about जो GMC में क्या facilities available होती हैं अगर जाना चाहता है कोई guidance के लिए, counseling के लिए to get rid of tobacco habit.
Before I talk about that, let me make one statement about the tobacco industry in J&K. How many among us know that we have a cigarette manufacturing company in J&K?
Probably none.
Possibly none. We have
Yeah.
J&K Cigarettes Limited, established in 1969, with a license to produce 4.5 billion cigarettes annually. So we are among the few states that manufacture cigarettes. So tobacco is not grown here, but tobacco products, cigarette is manufactured here. And J&K spends around 100 crore rupees annually on cigarettes only. 100 crore rupees. This is the amount that we are spending annually on smoking. We talked about cigarette usage. For government, recently they increased the GST of tobacco, and they call it SIN tax, SIN, and it has been increased to 40%. And but once we look on the revenue generated by tobacco and the expenditure on the tobacco related diseases caused in humans, for every 100 rupees generated from tobacco industry, we are spending around 816 rupees on the diseases caused by the tobacco. So we need to balance between what we are getting from tobacco and how government need to look on. Another issue, before I need to respond to the questions how GMC and other institutions are dealing with those things, we have a surrogate advertisement going on everywhere. So we have film stars coming up with surrogacy with regard to tobacco products. We have shopkeepers, though they don't put up a label of a cigarette brand, but they have those big design showcases there from those. So the responsibility हम पे आ जाती है क्या हम कैसे अलाउ करते हैं अपनी कम्युनिटी में, अपनी विसिनिटी में ये सब चीजें लाने की. अभी मीर मुश्ताक साहब ने बहुत अच्छी बातें बताई कि हमें वेंडर लाइसेंसिंग की जरूरत है, बट आर वी रेडी दैट वी विल अलाउ 1 or 2 शॉप्स इन आवर कम्युनिटी टू सेल सिगरेट्स, जिसकी वजह से हिंड्रेंस आ जाएगी लोगों में, क्योंकि हम किसी भी शॉपकीपर के पास जाके कुछ भी चीज ले जाते हैं और लोगों में बात ही नहीं है कि इन्होंने सिगरेट लिया और क्या लिया. लाइक वी हैव unfortunately wine shops have come all along at many places in Srinagar and other places, so लोगों में थोड़ा सा हिचकिचाहट हो जाती है. Same thing can happen with the tobacco products, especially cigarette products. यहाँ पे टोबैको प्रोडक्ट्स कश्मीर में जो हाँ ज्यादातर है वो तो स्मोक्ड ही है, बट नॉन स्मोक प्रोडक्ट्स भी कश्मीर में आ रहे हैं, स्पेशली विद जो माइग्रेंट पॉपुलेशन है, तो उनमें गुटखा, खैनी, वो सब चीजें आ रही हैं. With regard to what we are doing in GMC, we have a tobacco cessation center, which is with the departments of psychiatry, SMHS hospital में है. So they are providing counseling and for pharmaceutical management with Dr. Naveed's department at City Hospital, also running a tobacco cessation center. But not many people are coming to that centers, because once we see the quantum of people having tobacco usage around as it was discussed earlier, that around 25 to 30%. In our study, we found that 28% of adolescents, school-going adolescents, are consuming cigarettes. So that has even gone up. The GATT study, which was in 2016-17, had even shown higher, and we expect the GATT-3 study may show even, it may be showing around 35 to 40% of our consumption. So we need to look at our usage of tobacco and cigarette usage at our homes. हमने बात की अभी first hand smoke, second hand smoke, but we need to talk about the third hand smoke also, the effects of the leftover smoke on the inanimate objects in our homes. So once a person who smokes in a room, the suspended particles settle on the table, chairs, shelves, and people, small children moving around just can get contact with them and have the exposure from the very incipient age. So that needs to stop. As you started with that, we need to have a smoke-free home. So we have started an initiative with the Rotary Club also, that we should be placing plates outside some homes who are willing, so that we put a no smoking house or no smoking household. So we are on it also, and we are starting that initiative also. But with regard to tobacco cessation and other facilities, it's not going that way. Though even at Government Dental College they have one, Kashmir University has one, but the services are not that fully supportive to the community, and the people coming to that are very less. So
Thank you
unless
so much.
we have awareness with regard to the deleterious effect of smoking within the community, the IEC activities should be very much widespread, and we should get experts like we have today who will speak on social media about the ill effects of smoking. Then and especially the patients who have developed malignancies and they come up that say or have COPD, and they come up saying that we had developed these diseases because of smoking, maybe that may have some effect on people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Salim साहब ने IEC term invoke की, that's information, education and communication. Appropriately worded here so that we can inform. दो सवाल आए हैं. हुदा भट्ट पूछ रहे हैं कि because of everything that we know tobacco causes, what about government completely banning it? We won't take that question in detail, Huda Saab. Governments do things, governments don't do things. There are legalities involved. We can't address that question. But there's a question from Muhammad Tahir Saab. And Syed Nisar, if you can take that very briefly. कह रहे हैं वो कि about screening of cancers, ये depend age पे करता है या different years of smoking? Are there different protocols for different people?
So screening is a totally different topic, because say screening means once you don't have any symptoms and then you are going to scan the people or do some tests and you are trying to get it early. But so that has logistic issues. So even in developing countries, it has not shown improvement except few diseases like in India, like CA cervix and CA breast, mostly in West. So in fact, because we had a high incidence of gastric cancer here, we intended to do some screening protocols. But those, as of now, they are not viable. But otherwise, so if you have heavy smoker, you have a family history of smoking, if you have a COPD, there are some high risk groups wherein actually you can do scanning like NCCTs. So they are not like contrast enhanced CT at some intervals, in especially who are willing to participate and who understand false positive and negatives of scanning. That's the group as of now in lung cancer in our part wherein we can screen for lung cancer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think the bottom line message is, अगर तंबाकू नहीं पिएंगे ये सवाल ही नहीं आ पाएगा. The key is to say no to tobacco. Izan पूछ रहे हैं, why does our society treat female smoking as something more serious than male smoking? Izan, we're not making that comment. We're saying that female smoking was under 1% X number of years ago. Now it is gone up to 8%. We're not we're informing, we're not treating it differently. It's as bad for a woman to smoke or a man to smoke. Zaina पूछ रहे हैं, why do young people, despite being educated about the harmful effects of cigarette, get attracted to? Zaina साहब, ये psychological चीज़ें हैं. मेरा दोस्त पी रहा था, मैंने भी पीना शुरू कर दिया, उसने छोड़ा, मैंने भी छोड़ना शुरू कर दिया. The key is everyone here today should be talking to their friends, their family, to make houses smoke free, businesses smoke free. I'm going to start concluding the session to talk about the next session we have on October 25. So this session is actually a BKMA-led session, and Dr. Alagman Saab connected me with BKMA. The session will focus on medical careers and opportunities in United Kingdom. Yaver Yasin Saab hain, Basil Masood Saab hain, and Yasir Rashid Saab hain. They'll talk about PLAB and beyond PLAB, how to work, enter UK space in medical sciences, health sciences. With that, I wanted to thank panelists, everyone who dialed in for this lovely conversation. We'll have a part 2 of this conversation soon. Naveed, if we could request you to stay as our brand ambassador as we have tobacco cessation conversations. Please say yes. I hope you'll say yes.
Inshallah, I would
Chale.
love to. This is a cause I would love to be a part of.
Thank you so much. और
pleasure.
आज के बाद जब भी हम घर पे हैं, Dr. Lagman साहब, I'll come to you last. Do talk about these 20 chemicals. Do talk about these 20 cancers. Do talk about women's health, passive smoking. And Salim saab just said something, residual effect. The contents of the smoke, tim छ रोजान furniture aspect, tim छ रोजान तकी aspect, and we'll touch our hand, we'll touch our face. We end up consuming beyond our means. Alagman Saab, you asked for this session about 8 months ago. Thank you so much. And we're going to do the substance abuse. We're going to do part 2 of this session. I wanted to have you share your wisdom, share your values, share your thoughts, please. If you can unmute Alagman Saab.
Thank you, Lal Saab. Boshus Koshur. Yeti ab request variya session Congress pati kat karan. İşis içtimai zimvari salan. İçin eksin zimvari kihin ki iske heka emi khatır karitsin. Gordnyuk çiz yushu garas manzun. Agar mol molch sigaret şavan, to bach hiç bacha şudama medise sigaret de begitin. Bach kya hiç. Lihasa çi gari zimvari. बहुत शुक्रिया इवन पैनलिस्टन हुंद करान इमा ब्यूटिफुली ये कोर एक्सप्लेन इस सेकंड हैंड स्मोकिंग छु पैसिव स्मोकिंग छु रीसेंट स्टडी छु थोरैक्स छु जर्नल ब्रिटिश थोरेसिक एसोसिएशन कुन तिमा वोन अगर बुडबब छु सिगरेट तमोक चवान मोल मोल छु तमोक चवान किहिन इसी बच्ची मन जेवी तमिस बच्चस त छु मुजिर असरात ननान पत अमि तमाकी अगर मोल मोज चोमुत कहीं मगर बुडबबन चोमुतन दोयम तमोक एडिक्शन अत मजन टबैको इंडस्ट्री हूं बोड़ बार अत यम क्रिकेट मैच करान स्पॉन्सर यम फिल्म स्पॉन्सर करान बाकी चीज स्पॉन्सर करान रीसेंट स्टडी आमुन कंट्री साउथ अमेरिका मज कोस्टारिका तत लंग कैंसर इंसिडेंट फार लेस यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स मज अमिक वजह कि टबैको इंडस्ट्री वाले वोन यह लकट कंट्री इकनॉमिकली बैकवर्ड अत जरूरत एडवर्टीजमेंट कर कहीं लिहाजा कोर तमो 1960s 70s 80s मज तत लिहाजा गई न तत स्मोकिंग ज़्यादा पॉपुलर कहीं इंसिडेंट्स ऑफ लंग कैंसर गो कम वो सान जिम्मेवारी इज्तमाही जिम्मेवारी गरसे मज यह सान मजहबी रहनुमान हज जिम्मेवारी अगर वन मुसलमान तबकु कुन अगर वरियस मज खुतबह इमाम साहब अथ पे दी है कि तमाक सत क्या गसान واریاہن سپدِ اثر امہِ سۭتۍ یِتھَے کٔنٮ۪تھ چھِ سٲنۍ بٔڑۍ بار علما چھِ گژھان نِکاح خٲنی کرنہِ تِمن مجلسن منٛز چھِ سِگریٹ چٮ۪وان اگر یہِ مولوی صٲب تھوٚد وۄتھِ تتہِ یِمن ونہِ نہٕ کِہیٖنۍ دپٮ۪کھ بہٕ چھُس نہٕ اژنہٕ یتھ مجلس منٛز روزنہٕ بہٕ توٚتام یوٚتام ییٚتہِ سِگریٹ بنٛد گژھن امیُک اثر گژھِ واریاہ WHO چھُ ونان یہِ کرنہٕ خٲطرٕ چھُ تِمو ووٚنمُت ایمپاور گوٚو اکھ کٔرِو سا تُہۍ مانِٹر یِمن یہِ کِتھ کٔنٮ۪تھ چھِ چٮ۪وان سِگریٹ کُس چھُ کران کیٛاہ چھِ کران دوٚیِم چھُ ونان پروٹیکٹ کٔرِو یہِ تُہۍ بنٲیِو سموک فری اینوارنمنٹ سکوٗلن منٛز گرن منٛز مسجدن منٛز پبلک فنکشنن منٛز بیٚیہِ کٔرِو تِمن آفر ہیلپ دٔپِو اگر ژٕ سِگریٹ چھُکھ چٮ۪وان وَل سا بہٕ ہسا کرے ژےٚ یہِ ہیلپ کوٚت چھُے گژھُن ژےٚ کیٛاہ چھُے کَرُن یِتھ کٔنۍ سلیٖم صٲبن ووٚن بیٚیہِ چھِ یِمن وارنِنگ دِنۍ کہِ اَمہِ سۭتۍ کیٛاہ کیٛاہ چھُ سپدان یُس نثار صٲبن ووٚن کوتاہ کینسر چھُ کیٛاہ چھُ گژھان بیٚیہِ چھُ اینفورس کرُن ایڈوَٹیٖزمنٹ بین سِگریٹ ڈبہِ پٮ۪ٹھ چھُ لیکھِتھ آسان مگر وُنہِ تہِ چھُ ایڈوَٹیٖزمنٹ گژھان سموک یہِ چھُ بنٛد کرُن بیٚیہِ چھُ اَسہِ ٹیکس ریز کرُن یِمن اگر نہٕ گورمنٹ بنٛد ہیٚکہِ کٔرِتھ تِکیٛازِ یہِ گورمنٹس چھِ اَمِچ واریاہ اِنکم اگر نہٕ تِم بنٛد ہٮ۪کن کٔرِتھ مگر تہٕ ٹیکس تہِ ہٮ۪کن کھٲلِتھ اگر ٹیکس بڑِ واریاہ گژھِ اَمہِ سۭتۍ اِکنامِک اِفیکٹ لُکھ ہٮ۪کن کم سِگریٹ تموک چٮ۪تھ دوٚیِم ذِمہٕ وٲری چھِ ڈاکٹرس سٲنۍ میون چھُ وٕنکیٚنس مُخٲطِب سانٮ۪ن جوٗنیر ڈاکٹرن یِم چھِ آسان آوُٹ پیشنٹس منٛز تَتہِ چھُ رش واریاہ آسان تٔمِس چھِ آسان ہتہٕ بٔدۍ بٮ۪مار وٕچھِنۍ أمِس چھُنہٕ ٹایمٕے آسان یہِ پرٛژھِ ہا أمِس ژٕ چھُکھا تموک چٮ۪وان ییٚلہِ نہٕ أمۍ پرٛژھُے تٔمِس سُہ کِتھ کٔنۍ کرِ تٔمِس ایڈوایس لہذا چھُ تٔمِس گۄڈٕ پرٛژھُن ہی ہیز ٹُو آسک ویدر ہی از سموکِنگ تمہِ پتہٕ چھُ أمِس وٕچھُن أمۍ سُنٛد ایڈوایس کرٕنۍ اَمہِ سۭتۍ کیٛاہ چھُ گژھان یہِ متہٕ چھا تہٕ کیٛاہ کیٛاہ چھُ گژھان ترٛیٚیِم چھُ أمِس وَنُن أمِس ایکسیس کرُن یہِ چھا willing to give up smoking agar he willing to then you have to assist him send him to Salim Saab so there are 4 A's first one is ask number 2 is advice number 3 is access and number 4 is advise them and arrange help for them so this is a message for junior doctors it's a sٲنۍ ذِمہٕ وَننہٕ سۭتی ووت نَنہِ نہٕ کِہیٖنۍ we have to do it and as you said it has starts from the home and it is a collective responsibility all of us.
Thank you sir Hannah actually said something very similar she's saying I made a comment that if you do forecasting is a science of predicting right ये percent consumption है rate consumption की इतनी बढ़ रही है 30 साल में क्या होगा we can mathematically bring that and you're saying rather than doing lip service what are we going to do beyond speeches if I paraphrase her comment so Hannah this is where everybody comes in you come in Hannah so मैं request करता हूं जो भी dial in किए आज write to us at info@kashmircarefoundation.org give us your idea when we start something we don't talk to you transactionally हमारे पास एक strategy है and we want to bring everyone in that strategy how do we influence how do we contribute in a public health disaster that's we're looking at and इसलिए हमारे पास सलीम साहब हैं इसीलिए हमारे पास मीर मुश्ताक साहब हैं शुमैल हैं निसार साहब हैं नवीद साहब हैं we're going to talk about cardiovascular health we'll talk about dental health reproductive health endocrinology and eventually we'll have a package that what we call internally as a non-paper so Hannah join us and मैंने साजन का भी comment देखा है साजन please join us become the cheerleaders champions of ending tobacco use starts with me with that I want to thank each one of you for dialing me I know we passed because just over an hour thank you again assalamu alaikum